Okay, let's start with that paragraph. So, this story only has these two paragraphs. So the first sentence gives us the main idea. An ogre is a large monster that looks like a very large person, right? Okay, so it's a Bible, right? We have the question, is it real or is it, like just in a story? So, it's a monster. Right? It's not a real thing. Okay. Then we have here a comparison. Ogres are bigger than trolls but smaller than giants. What's special at the end of the sentence? The 句子后面有什么特别的？And after the word giants, what's special? 这个字 giants 后面，这句子最后面的有什么特别的？Yeah, there's a little mark, right? It's different. It's not like other letters that we see. So what does it mean? It's a little star, right? Sneeze. Yes, right? When you write a test, when you guys have an exam for your class, right? If this is your exam, you don't read the first question and start writing, right? Never do that. It's a mistake. If this is your exam, you look at the whole thing first. You look at the whole paper, and then you start answering questions. So again, if we look at this whole page, what's different? There's something down at the bottom here, right? It might be important and help us understand. So let's read that next. So at the bottom here, after the star, in stock, yeah. Yeah. In Western tradition, giants don't eat people. That's not what they are. We specifically have monsters that look like people, but they're big or small or whatever. But the ones that eat people are ogres. Alright? So, do you know these stories? Jack and the Beanstalk?
Yeah.
Right? So in that story, there's 3 magic beans, right? And Jack plants them in the ground. There's this beanstalk, a bean plant that grows up. And at the top of the plant, there's an ogre. Right? So, okay. In the story, they called him a giant, but it's an ogre. Okay. BFG. Did you ever watch that movie? The BFG? The Big Friendly Giant? Not that one. That's a different story. But BFG, this is, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's a British production, yeah. But the thing is, there's this there's this British, well actually not, he's from further east, Roald Dahl. He writes children's stories. And he writes these really fantastic stories about a factory where they only make chocolate, right? And it's a great story. He wrote about this big friendly giant, and there's this little girl, and she sees a giant walking around in England and in London, and he takes her away so she won't tell anybody. It's a fun story. If you get a chance, you should watch it. But again, it's a popular story, but in the story there are giants that eat people. But giants don't eat people, those are ogres. Okay? So the point behind this bit at the bottom is to help people understand, right? Again, whatever you see on a page can be useful for reading, good practice, but part of that practice is understanding why it's written, right? What the purpose is. So, we have these stories. We now have a better understanding what an ogre is, right? In the movie Shrek, you all watched Shrek, right? Shrek, right? So, read that sentence again. In the movie Shrek, again. Very, what's that word? Silly. Shrek. 它是什么? What kind of monster would you say Shrek is? 可怕的吗? Ugly, okay. But what else? Fat. Does he look like a monster?
Funny.
He's funny, right? So, which of those ideas do you think fits with silly? Do you think he's scary? Read the rest of it again. They have,
They have
Jian.
green skin and funny hair, and they are German.
Okay. So they have green skin. Okay, well, sure, why not? And funny ears, right? Shrek's ears, they look really strange, right? And so, 不是很可怕的，是很好笑的, right? So, they're silly. They're not something you should worry about. The next sentence, ogres are usually not something to laugh about, right? Don't forget, 句子里面文法是字的关系, right? How do the words go together? That's what grammar is for. So when we have a word like this, from, the reason we have this word is so we understand this idea and this idea have what relationship. 文法都是关系, right? But we also have words that connect sentences. 介系词是句子里面的关系。可是还有how do you say that one? 那个 conjunctions. 如果所以连接词, right? Okay. 连接词是两个句子它们的关系, right? So always pay attention to those words because they will help you to understand this sentence and this sentence have the same meaning. Or this sentence is part 1, this sentence is part 2. Or this sentence is the opposite of this sentence, right? This sentence says dogs are good. This sentence says cats are bad. What relationship do we have there? So pay attention to those words. Here we have the word however, right? So, in the movie Shrek, ogres are very silly. However, ogres are usually not something to laugh about. 所以意思说什么？ Shrek 跟太阳的 ogre， right? Different from Shrek, right? Shrek is funny, however, usually ogres are not funny because they eat people. Okay? Okay, so 这个句子大部分都了解吗？还是有字有问题？ Okay, let's keep going then. There are now that phrase, however, one day a clever cat tricks him. You see this part in the brackets there, the part where the words are at an angle, right? What does that mean? Right. We have first the cat tricks him. Tricks 是什么意思？因为它是动词。 So 它的意思是 play a trick on, right? So 骗，可以用，对不对？骗他。All right. And then the last question, last sentence. Do you know? 一几年？